Okay, what's up, people? Welcome back to another stream. Hope everyone is doing good. As always, guys, if you're enjoying the content, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel. It does really help out. And of course, make sure you do go and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. Check out the Elevating Traders Discord channel, completely free to join. Link to that in the description below. Excuse me. Also at the top of the chat there as well, you can join other traders, share ideas. I share my ideas there as well. So if you are looking to join the community, check it out. Link in the description, free to join. And also at the top of the chat, so you definitely can't miss it. But guys, welcome back to another stream. So very, very interesting last week. Of course, with all that movement, kind of spilled over into this week a little bit. Yen pairs have moved a little bit. USD pairs have moved quite a bit as well. Quite a lot of gaps in the market as well. So we're kind of seeing that momentum spill over into this week too. So, yeah, very, very interesting moves in the market. What's up, Dark Shot? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. Yeah, I know. Massive open. Do you think the gap on NAS will fill? I haven't actually looked at NAS yet, but I will go through that. Nuyuki, hope I'm saying that correctly. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. Ahmed, good morning. Hope you're doing good. Philip, what is up? Ivan, good morning. Alex, good morning. Welcome to the stream. So, as always, we'll go through the USD side of things first. DXY, USD majors, gold, silver. We'll take a look at some indices as well. But yeah, it's been a very, very crazy start to the week, and kind of makes sense because, you know, when you do have the close on the weekend, you kind of think the market is shut, but the market's still going. It's just in terms of us retail traders, the market's closed to us, but the market is still, of course, moving, reacting to what is going on around the world. So these gaps, have kind of come around about of that. But to start things off, of course, the dollar. So as I was speaking about on my weekly analysis, if you haven't checked it out, go and do that. Completely free to watch. So, of course, it's free to watch. It's on my YouTube channel. But essentially, what I was saying is that price has come back into an area of interest for buyers anyway. We did consolidate quite a lot and had a pretty big move to the upside here. So this is coming back into bullish territory, and we have to be careful, especially if you're looking to continue that bearish momentum. So if you do have that bearish bias, now's the time to start maybe parking the brakes a little bit and being careful where you're shorting into. I still think there could be some really nice short opportunities for the dollar, but I do want to see a bit more of a pullback, coming back into this kind of area here where that momentum started from. Nice kind of doji there on the weekly chart, strong move to the downside. If you can return back into that area, naturally, I do think that would be a nice place to short from. And again, doesn't necessarily have to be looking for a full swing for price to get back to the zone and expecting a full swing. Even if we get halfway, that could still be a very, very nice trade, especially if you see a similar move on like Euro USD or Pound USD, for example. But yeah, the way I'm looking at the dollar right now is I'm still bearish in terms of momentum. We still do have consistent bearish structure. If I go to the daily chart, as you can see, lower lows and lower highs, momentum is still down. It's just that we've tapped into this area, which could, of course, start potentially a new trend. So I have to be prepared for that. But my main takeaway is that the market is still bearish, just being cautious that this level could turn things around. So in terms of shorting the dollar, I do want price to kind of pull away from that zone. So I'm not shorting closer to it because it's, of course, where the buyers will be looking to get involved. And that would mean that I'm kind of waiting for price to get back into this area where we had that brief consolidation, of course. And that's just when we had that massive move to the downside last week. So I kind of want price to revisit this area, 104, 104.2. And if you could do that nice and correctively, that could present some nice shorts there for the dollar. And again, we'll discuss targets closer, to the setup, because I'm not too sure if I'll be looking to target all the way down to the swing low. Maybe I might be looking to trail some positions, but I'm being very cautious with my USD bearish bias just because of where we're getting to. But that's kind of what I'm looking at for the dollar. Euro USD, basically the same thing as well. I like this consolidation here as well, just before the market flew to the upside. Naturally, I would want to see the market get there because we're in the same situation as with Euro USD as well. As we can see, if we look to the left, it's the weekly chart, by the way. Nice range there. What happened? We consolidated, strong break to the downside, and this started, of course, this move, which did end up taking out some structure as well. So it's a very strong position in the market for the sellers. Not only did it give us a pretty big move, it took out some pretty big lows whilst we're at it as well. So it's a very, very important area for euro dollar and for the dollar itself as well. So it could potentially start a trend in the opposite direction. But of course, we're still looking at momentum here. Strong push, bit of a retracement, another strong push to the upside. But of course, we did leave a bit of a wick to the upside as well. So we are getting some red flags for the longs here. There's potentially still could be some nice buy opportunities. But in terms of looking for that full swing all the way back to the swing high up there, might not be the best bet when we are starting to get some red flags coming into the market. So with Euro USD, I'm looking at a deeper retracement. Initially, I was looking for the retest of the high here. I said after looking at how prices rejected that zone, I don't think I'll be wanting to be too aggressive with my longs. I want to be a lot more conservative, waiting for a much deeper retracement. So I know prices a lot further away from that zone, and naturally that would mean waiting for a pullback into this area, which is around 1.084500, we'll call it. So yeah, looking for a much bigger retracement. I want price to be corrective as well. I don't want to see price suddenly shoot to the downside aggressively. Again, that's more of a characteristic of a reversal. If we're a bit slower, corrective, then that gives me a bit more confidence that we could see a nice buy, even if the bigger move is still to the downside. But yeah, for euro dollar, just waiting for a big correction. Nice bearish zone here. Perhaps there could be some lower time frame shorts there as well. Kind of looking to take advantage of price falling over. Perhaps if we can get back into resistance again, test that high 1.04, that might be a nice place for a short. We're being very consistent with these low highs. 1, 2, 3. Maybe the fourth one is already printed, but we might come back and retest it. That could be a nice trade potentially this afternoon. And that could be a really nice short there to take, taking advantage of that zone we were reacting with whilst the market retraces. But in terms of the buy opportunities, the bullish opportunities, kind of waiting for us to get back to that kind of territory. Pound USD, I'm actually looking to sell, to be honest, because of the rejection was so strong last week. We've actually gapped to the downside, but we've still taken out these lows here as well. So what I'm looking at here for Pound USD is a very strong impulse, followed by an even stronger impulse in the opposite direction, which, again, as we talk about a lot on the streams, when we do see this type of price action, the impulse one way for an impulse back the other way, tends to be a sign of reversal, and it does play out pretty well too. So I'm expecting to see a bit of a correction for Pound USD at some point, and the market to continue to sell off. So the plan for Pound USD is looking for that correction and then the short. Of course, this would be my preferred area to get involved with, that prior resistance. If we could pull back into that level, that would be fantastic, which is just above 1.3. And that kind of gives us a big head and shoulder pattern as well. So you got your left, you got your head, you got your right there. And of course, that would be your neckline. And then you're expecting price to form the right shoulder and continue. But again, based on Pound USD, based on what we're doing on the higher time frames, you can see the daily close last week for Friday was exceptionally bearish. We had a very strong push on Thursday, big wick to the upside, price didn't sustain momentum, then we came straight back down and closed bearish. And of course, that gave us a pretty bearish weekly candle too. Well, not so bearish in terms of the body's actually closer to a doji, to be honest. It's a very small close. Just closed slightly bearish, but the biggest takeaway is that we've already got a pool of wicks here to the upside, so price is clearly struggling to hold resistance here. And then last week's candle tried to continue momentum, but completely failed, pull back and close bearish. So I think there's a higher chance that we do see price push down than push up. And that's pretty much all trading is. What's the probability of price going this direction versus that direction? Of course, you got to plot your entries and your stop losses, and that's where it gets a bit more complicated. But in terms of just having a bias for Pound USD here, I would definitely favor a move to the downside rather than push to the upside. Of course, anything can happen, but just in terms of probability, we've already had a few attempts to try and go higher. So likely Pound USD is going to fall. And in terms of where, there's some levels here on the left, 1.28. I'm more so looking at this area We had that brief pause, big strong break to the upside, so possibly a retest of 1.27 could make a lot of sense there. That'd be a really nice swing trade, but again, not too sure if I'll hold the trade that long. But yeah, pound USD pullbacks look good, and that's kind of the setup I'm looking to see if I can get involved with. Pound USD is definitely on my watch list. Dollar CAD has been interesting. We've seen a very aggressive retracement, a very aggressive wick to the downside as well. So I'm not so enthusiastic about the sales as I once was with dollar CAD. I still think there's a good chance we get back to this level, but we did leave a pretty big wick last week's candle through the low here, and we pull back up pretty aggressively as well. Looking at the daily chart, we do have a big level of resistance just above us. So as we can see, if we look to the left, really nice support once, twice, a third time. Even it was acting support over there, but just primarily focusing on that price action. Price, of course, broke through, and now I said if we could get a successful retest, there could be some really nice shorts here on the way back down. There's only one thing I don't like about this position, which again is how we retrace. We had a really strong drop, consolidation, and a pretty strong recovery. Now, again, these impulse patterns are not perfect. Sometimes we do see them and they do fail. Of course, every pattern, it's not going to work every time. Every pattern is going to have moments when they fail. And this could be one of them. But I want to see some really strong rejection here for that to convince me to take the trade. Otherwise, I'll let dollar CAD do its thing and leave it be. If it does reject it, it does reject it. If it does break to the upside, it does break to the upside. But based on the fact that we left a big wick to the downside in the weekly chart, and we're seeing pretty aggressive retracement, I want to see some really strong wicks, bearish engulfing candles, before I even do consider taking a short here and getting involved. And of course, probably targets back at the low. So to me, dollar CAD does look pretty good. It's a nice level. We're back at that level. If we can reject it well, it could be a nice short. But just based on how we're moving, there's some red flags that I have to watch out for. So I'm going to be a bit picky about this position. But it's in a nice place. So I'm keeping an eye on it. It is on my watch list. So it is a pair I'm looking at. But there's a bit of caution involved there with dollar CAD, especially seeing what's going on with USD at the moment as well. In terms of Aussie dollar, so Aussie dollar, massive move to the downside last week. Yeah, a huge move for Aussie dollar, to be honest. We've taken out some major lows. We do have COVID lows on our left here, which I wonder is price maybe headed towards. Could be, not too far away, 0.57. Of course, this was back in 2020. We could see price push towards that area, but I think the biggest takeaway right now for Aussie dollar is that we're taking out some major lows. There's not a lot of support to look at least on the daily or the weekly chart. I might have to go quite far back to find support there, unless you're looking at the 2020 lows down there. So we're kind of in a bit of free fall right now. I do expect the market to retrace. We've kind of broken out the consolidation. The market is still quite stretched, so naturally, I do think a pullback is naturally going to occur, but yeah, taking buys are always a little bit risky, especially in this climate here, because you don't know how much, how down the market will go before it does recover. It's pretty much guaranteed we will see that recovery. We always do, but we could still do another 200 pips before price does pull back. So taking buys is always a little bit aggressive in this climate where all the markets are kind of falling simultaneously. So yeah, a bit cautious there with the buys there with Aussie dollar, but I do expect retracement. In terms of the sells, then of course you're just waiting for a much bigger retracement. I was pointing out this area here, 0.65. That would be a nice level to short from. Of course, we're very far away, but that's kind of the only area which I would consider some shorts, especially in this current, in the way the market is moving, the fact that we've taken out some major lows as well. So yeah, at the moment, still looking pretty bearish for Aussie dollar. Expect some retracement, but I need to see some strong rejection before I would kind of look to bank on that. As the USD, similar situation, strong moves to the downside. Hasn't taken up the lows yet, but probably is going to. Again, with this one, we've got some major support on our left. Price might want to go and take out the wick low here. So that was the wick low from COVID as well, I believe. Yes, it was. We probably are going to see price go and take that out. You can see in the weekly chart, very strong close as well. Lovely wicks to the upside, so resistance held very well. And now we got that momentum. So I do think there's a good chance that this wick does go, even though we're very close to doing it, and probably see the wick down there go as well. So more downside likely for NZD/USD before we do recover. Again, in terms of shorting the market, potentially something like, let me just delete this level. Something like this could look good. A retest of that area might be a nice trade in the lower time frame. So I would keep an eye on that in case NZD/USD would be kind enough to retrace. But yeah, it's looking very bearish right now. And I've got a feeling we might just kind of just dump there to the downside. In terms of gold, gold started off the week pretty bearish, a bit more downside with this one. I did say I think a bit more retracement is coming into play now for gold. I talked about a retest of this area, which I think price is still got. Oh, what happened there? Kind of just jumped. I was talking about this area, which I think price has still got a pretty good chance to come back and retest. Yeah, I talked about potentially a short a little bit higher up. We start off the week pretty bearish, even though we did recover that. I was talking about retest this area. I think that retest still looks pretty good actually, because now that we've had that move down, probably maybe drawn some sellers in already. So we now might push to the upside to go and take them out of their positions before we do continue. So I actually still like that zone quite a lot. A lot of momentum came from that. Now we've got that potential incentive to head higher before we head lower. So gold, I would still be pretty bearish on. Really strong moves to the downside, taking out some key lows here on the left. It doesn't look like it's slowing down anytime soon right now. So I think that still looks like a nice short. And yeah, could be seeing a new swing low and perhaps a retest of that prior high there as well, which might be a nice place for a long. So I'm going to keep an eye out for that for gold, but also being a bit careful as well because momentum looks like it's shifting. That was a pretty strong close on Friday. It's been a while since we've seen a strong close. Probably have to go back to candlesticks here back in November. But yeah, a bit more downside for gold looks likely. And then silver, wow, silver very closed very bearish on the week last week. You can see pretty much engulfed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 weeks of price action that took us to get back to resistance. We engulfed that in 1 week. So price was exceptionally volatile last week and closed very bearish. We are, of course, coming back into support, so naturally there might be a bit of a bounce here for silver. Again, with this one, I'll probably still be pretty bearish. We've cracked through some major resistance on the daily chart, going back to 32.5-ish, 32.3. So I wouldn't be surprised if that does insinuate more downside. I think this would have been a nice place to short from, but I think we already tapped into it. Yeah, just about by the wick, and I suppose that's already given us a bit of a reaction. Very aggressive push though. I'm not really a fan of the price action, just so volatile. Big push down, big push up. Yeah, I want price to give me an impulsive move, but give me also corrective moves as well, so I know which way momentum is flowing. If momentum is in both ways, that's when things get a bit ugly. But yeah, silver, nice reaction to support. Naturally, there could still be some more buys here because the market is pretty oversold. So naturally, the market might still push down, find some support before clawing back up. But again, watch out because that would be still a bit more of an aggressive trade. But hey, if we start seeing some wicks development, it could end up being a nice position for gold. But then again, we might still continue to sell. So I'll still keep an eye out for that as well. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with USD side of things, gold, silver, USD majors. We'll take a look at the indices as well. So many gaps in the market. What's up, Sultan? Hope you're good. What's up, Brian? Welcome to the stream. Please, in your live. Yeah, I don't know what you mean, Sultan. You're asking for music in the background? I'm not too sure what you mean. Tony Gold, what is up? Hope you're well. Welcome to the stream, my man. Hope you're doing good. Ben, good morning, good morning. ETH retested its high from 2018 cycle. Wow, this morning pretty brutal. Yeah, I did see crypto took a big hit. Yeah, Bitcoin sell off a cliff, and I think all the other cryptocurrencies follow suit. We'll definitely take a look at that. But yeah, very big move, and I was a bit surprised because crypto wasn't doing anything last week, so you had a whole bloodbath everywhere, literally everywhere, especially major US indices falling as well, and then Bitcoin was just moving sideways. So that was a bit weird. I thought Bitcoin would have been falling as well. Now it looks like Bitcoin's just playing catch up a little bit. So yeah, I guess Bitcoin was just a bit delayed, but it's finally made its move. Alex, gold, NAS, and oil, okay. We just had a look at gold. I'll take a look at the indices. We'll go through oil as well. Yusuf, what's up? Good morning. Hope you're well. I had a good weekend. Thank you. Hope you had a good weekend as well. Valentine, yes, we just went through silver literally about a minute ago. Again, silver, I'm not the biggest fan of the market. It's still very volatile right now, but we've come into support, so naturally I do think the market probably will see some upside. In fairness, it's kind of already done that, to be honest. So want to see price come back, confirm support again, potentially nice double bottom. That could be a nice pace to take up some longs. It's a bit of an aggressive trade because you're going against that momentum from last week. But it's the expectation that, okay, we've had such a big drop, the market's likely to pull back anyway, before, even if it wants to continue to the downside. But of course, I would wait for some really strong signals. So wicks, rejection, bullish engulfing candles to really imply momentum shifting. And then perhaps we still continue. So I'd watch out for that as well. Anyway, let's go through some indices. Then I'll take a look at some, take a look at oil, and we'll go through a couple of cryptocurrencies as well. So NAS 100, I haven't actually looked at the indices. Wow. Yeah, I haven't actually looked at the indices this morning. So that is news to me. That's a huge gap there for NAS. Huge gap. You know, this is kind of your typical gap you might see for NAS or something like this. So that is pretty big. Anyway, Darkshawn asked, do I think we'll fill the gap? I mean, we normally do, so I would still bet on that happening. I think the market is still very oversold as well. Damn, it's already hit the high here too. Wow. Yeah, NAS has been very... So yeah, I think the gap is likely to fill, to be honest. The market is way too stretched. We haven't really had much of a pullback. You can see this is the weekly chart, by the way. This is essentially the pullback we had, which was a slight doji or a small bullish candle, then a bit of a wick to the upside on that bearish candle there, then we dropped. So the market, ever since it broke the lows here, hasn't really seen much upside. So I think we're due it, even if the market's going to head lower. And now that we've got that massive gap to fill as well, we've got another incentive to head higher. And I think naturally, because we're coming back into some really strong support in the higher time frames, the retest of the swing high, you've got this kind of range here as well, which did give us some nice momentum too. Perhaps we tap into that area before seeing some upside. So yeah, I do think we fill the gap probably by the end of the week. So by Friday, I think we could fill that gap. If not, we might just complete it next week. But yeah, I think there's a good chance we go fill the gap. To be honest, we're approaching support. Really bearish candle last week. I think we're very stretched. So the market still could fall. So I'm not saying we're going to turn around now. The market still could fall. Don't get me wrong. And it is still a bit of a fearful climate in the market, but I think we can see some upside. I mean, it does look like support is starting to hold here as well, so that could be a sign of strength for the bulls there. 15-minute chart, that was a nice bounce. Of course, we've got some resistance here to contend with, though. Yeah, I think we can go fill. Potentially might be best to wait for another test of support unless you're already in the position. But I do think we can go fill that gap. Again, I think by the end of the week, price could push back into that level. Anyway, let's go through S&P and US 30 whilst we're on the indice topic. I'll go through oil and we'll take a look at some cryptocurrencies as well. Pound CAD, Emir, yes, we'll take a look as well. So US 30, I would imagine a gap as well. Yeah, a pretty big one too. So yeah, US 30 tanked very hard last week. Really big bearish candle. Looks like all the US indices are back at their recent swing highs. So we got resistance here on the left. Price, of course, broke through. Now we're back there again. So again, could be seeing some buyers jumping to the market. I think if you're looking for any kind of investment ideas with US 30, S&P, NAS, your expectation is that they're always going to form higher lows and continue. I think now is coming back to a healthy correction. I mean, how far we dropped from the high? That's an 18% drop, almost 20% drop. So that's just a healthy correction to me for the indices, and now we're coming back into a high. So I'd probably keep an eye on these two areas specifically. So the retest of the high there and also the retest of this high, because we did break through both those levels with a lot of momentum. So we might see price bounce from either one of those areas. But again, I think there's a good chance we do go and fill that gap as well. For US 30, the market's pretty stretched, hitting some big levels. I do think we can see a bit of a relief. Again, even if the market is still going to head lower, which could very much still be the case, we might go and fill those gaps first before seeing downside. But again, US 30 looks like support starting to hold here. Again, still a bit of an aggressive trade, but could be some nice buys off that low. If not, then 35,500 below us. And the S&P, I'd imagine a gap there as well. Yep, massive gap to the downside. Let's see how we're looking in the weekly chart. So S&P as well, they're all doing the exact same thing in terms of coming back to their last major swing high. All trading the same kind of area, which is interesting. But again, S&P as well, I'll probably keep an eye on both of these levels. So the level we're testing right now and also this area just below us. But again, I do feel like retracement is definitely on the cards for the S&P. And again, looks like support is starting to hold there too. So yeah, I would favor some gap fills for the indices. Definitely in a bit more aggressive trade if you're looking to buy the market, because it is in free fall still. So I think it's one of those trades where you kind of actively manage and be careful with. And if you see any red flags, that momentum is going against you again, probably best to exit the trade and just look for re-entries rather than trying to hang on and be stubborn. Because we don't know how far the market's got. It could still easily see another couple bearish days before we do put that low in. Anyway, let's go through oil. So oil, last time I look at this one, we were falling pretty hard as well, and we still are. Another big gap to the downside there too. How did we close in the weekly chart? Wow, we actually closed below. So oil really setting the tone as well. Perhaps we've got a breakout on the cards. And we look in the monthly chart. Well, again, not going to take the monthly into too much consideration because the monthly chart still has 23 days left. For all we know, that could still pull back and leave a big wick there. But it does look like if we can get a close at the end of April, that does confirm support here is broken. Then we could be seeing a lot more downside for oil. Perhaps nice retest, then continue to fall. Maybe back into some of these areas down here. So 44, 40, that could be where oil is headed towards. Had a really big push to the upside, respected resistance on the left. Looks like price has just slowly bled to the downside, and now we've got the confirmation about what price wants to do next. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we do end up back at 40 for oil in the next few months. Like I said, I would want to wait for that candle to close in the monthly chart to really confirm momentum, but we've already got a strong weekly close here, so I would suggest if oil does pull back into resistance here, we can be looking for some shorts and continuation. So yeah, oil's looking pretty bearish, and there's room for us to continue to fall in, so I would keep an eye out for that. Dark Sean got into GJ last night after the market settled down, got a quick 10%. Nice, but now I'm too confident on taking any, not too confident on taking any trade. It looks ugly as hell. Yeah, of course, if the market's not looking right, there's no point trying to force anything, especially if you hit a nice trade before as well. you know, you can just sit on that profit and, you know, only take a trade when it's absolutely worth it. Because, yeah, don't want to give anything back unneedlessly, especially if it's not looking clear. If it's looking clear and you take a loss, fair enough, you know, fair game. But if it's not looking good and you still take a position, take a loss, that's when you probably kick yourself. One of those trades that finish in 5 minutes or so, yeah, I could imagine the market's just so volatile. So you're going to get some quick winners, quick losers as well. You know, if price is not going to go for you, it's going to stop you out pretty quickly. But the good thing is, if you have bigger risk rewards, it can play out pretty quickly, and maybe you see bigger moves than you're expecting as well. So it can definitely go for both ways. Anyway, let's take a look at a few of the cryptocurrencies. I'll go through pound CAD, then I'll start to go through some of the yen pairs because I'm still quite interested in them. But yeah, Bitcoin looking pretty bearish as well. In fairness, nice close in the weekly chart, wicks to the upside. I did say that 74k is kind of our next area of interest, which very close in getting into that. Daily chart on Sunday, was that Sunday? Yeah, Sunday, very strong to the downside, of course, completely breaking through support there. Now smashing back into 74k almost. So I actually do think this is a nice place for a buy for Bitcoin. I like the way we're kind of stabbing to the downside. One over there, second over there, potentially a bit of a third. I do feel like if we can start to see some signs of support forming, that could be a nice buy for Bitcoin. I'm not necessarily favoring a push back to the all-time high. I'm not too sure about that just yet. I feel like Bitcoin might have a much bigger retracement before we do see all-time highs again. But in terms of a decent buy for a move maybe similar to this, I think you've got a good proposition, a good opportunity to potentially capture that. There's still major resistance around 90k. Maybe price wants to revisit that again. That could be a nice target. Maybe if you want to be a bit more aggressive. But in terms of a solid level of support, we had a massive breakout of this level a while back. We never got the retest. Now we are. I do think we could see some buyers jumping into the market. Naturally, sellers maybe taking some profit. So I do favor some buys here for Bitcoin. So it has started off the week pretty bearish, but I do think we're going to see a bit of a recovery there a little bit. And yeah, keep probably one eye on the indices too. In terms of Ethereum, what's this one been up to? Strong move down as well. Yeah, looking pretty bearish. So what price are we trading at? 1,492. So we've broken 1.5k now. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see Ethereum push all the way back down to 1k, to be honest. The way I see it, price broke out a pretty long-standing bullish trend here with that trend line. We've smacked through support as well. So that was a really nice area of confluence where we were respecting at one point, but of course we've given way to that, and now it looks like we're probably on a path back to that support level there at 1k. So yeah, I can't say too much about Ethereum apart from it just looks really bearish. I would only be looking to sell this one in terms of a trading opportunity, of course, investing in something else. But in terms of a trading opportunity, we're getting a very strong bearish signal here. Dropping to the daily chart, very consistent lower highs since the double top back over here in December last year. Lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. It's just been very consistent. So now that we've broken to the downside there as well, this of course has turned into resistance, and a retest of that would look really nice, and potentially you find the next lower high there too. So yeah, I would be pretty bearish here with Ethereum. Breaking through 1.5k is pretty significant as well. I think 1k is looking more and more likely to be hit. As long as we maintain this bearish structure, I think I would favor that, to be honest. So Ethereum not looking too good either at all. And I think XRP as well had a bit of a drop too. Yeah, XRP is pushing down as well. Again, XRP had that massive move there, so it's got a lot of room to potentially retrace in. If I do get the fib from the low to the high, we've only just about come into the 0.618, so still a relatively healthy retracement. We could even pull back into this kind of territory below 0.786 before we find our feet again. That's the thing with crypto. We have really big impulsive moves, but we also have very big corrections. So yeah, I don't really want to chase moves with crypto, especially when Markets starting to fatigue after a big move, because the market tends to retrace most of the time with crypto, and when it does retrace, you could see 50, 60, 70% retracement. So you might as well just wait for that to happen. It will give you a much better price to enter in if you're looking for any longer term plays. But yeah, XRP, there is still definitely room to the upside if we want, to the downside if we want to retrace. I think we're starting to break through some support as well, which is pretty significant for XRP2, which is this level here. Really, really strong support. Looks like we're about to break through that as well. So yeah, more bearish signs there for XRP. But again, given the current climate, indices down, stocks are down, Bitcoin's down, I think we're naturally going to see downside here as well. So it makes sense. Anyway, let's go through some. Okay, let me take a look at pound CAD before I forget, and then I'll go through the yen pairs. So pound CAD. I'm pretty bearish on, at least back to support, which we're kind of coming into now anyway. But we had a really strong close in the weekly chart last week, so that kind of sets the tone for this week anyway. Again, the weekly candle is very, very powerful in terms of indicating what potentially could happen the following week. That could give you a nice little bias to trade. You can drop to the lower time frames to execute that. But you can see last week's candle, testing resistance there, really failing to break through. Then we closed pretty bearish, nice kind of shooting star pattern. But the key thing is that we're firing wicks to the upside. So basically resistance is holding. And we had all that momentum of that breakout. And essentially the market's saying that we're trying to continue, but we can't. So if that's the case, naturally you're going to push in the opposite direction. So I think this week's candle as well probably will give us a bearish move. Again, we might not necessarily close bearish. It's always difficult to predict the color of the candle, but at least there might be a meaningful bottom wick. I think there's a good chance of that happening. Even if we close strongly bullish by the end of the week, we probably will get a decent bottom wick to trade. So I'm still favoring a bit more downside for pound CAD back into resistance here. So that's kind of still my expectation. Maybe we're already on our way to that. I did speak about potentially push back into resistance first before we do have that drop, purely on a perspective of just finding a good trade, really, because you can have a bias in the market, but potentially there might not be a good setup to trade that bias. Maybe the market leaves without you, maybe it doesn't pull back enough. That's kind of the situation here. Maybe pound CAD just keeps falling. But if you do find support and see a push to the upside, 1.85, I think that looks like a nice level to look too short from. Market's been pretty consistent with the lower highs here. So as long as that continues, I'm expecting more downside for pound CAD. And yeah, Euro CAD's giving me similar vibes as well. So I think both of them naturally will see some downside. Anyway, let's go through some of the yen pairs. So we'll start with pound yen. This one, of course, gap to the downside. All the yen pairs gap to the downside. Looking pretty bearish, and we've just about passed the low here. So my biggest takeaway from pound yen is that we're looking very, very bearish. A lot of momentum in the market. I'm expecting a lot more downside, and I'm still expecting this wick low to go. So the way I see it with pound yen right now is I'm expecting a lot more downside, and that momentum is basically confirmed. So it's about finding upside opportunities to short and take back down. You can see on the weekly candle that close as well. Really strong candlestick close, a lot of wicks to the upside. So that to me, of course, is our next lower high. And now I'm expecting price to continue south, back into the wick low. There is some support here to contend with, of course. That could be a nice kind of intermediate target, depends on what you're looking for, but I do think there's a good chance we get there anyway. But yeah, pound yen, more so in the 4 hour. Looks like we kind of already filled the gap, have we? The gap kind of started from that wick, so yeah, we've kind of already filled the gap there. I did say on the weekly analysis that a key thing for pound yen is retracement, because the market has just been in free fall ever since we've broken support back over here. Ever since we cleared that support level, the market has just literally been dropping. So I need price to retrace. 192, 192.5 would be a lovely area. I'm also looking at this support level too, which is 191. If we could retrace there, that could be a nice place for a short as well. But the way I see it, High time frames are bearish. We're seeing a lot of bearish momentum. Lower lows, lower highs being maintained. I do think we're just seeing the continuation of that massive drop last year, July. And now we're slowly getting the continuation of that. So pound yen, in terms of a nice swing opportunity, just looking for a correction, which we can take some shorts from. So a retest of 191-ish or a retest of 192.5 are levels I'm happy to engage with. And take some shorts for pound CAD. Pound CAD? Now you've got pound CAD on my brain. Pound yen is what I meant. So yeah, some healthy corrections and then some shorts look good. I have to admit, pound yen's not my favorite pair right now because it has, of course, taken out the lows there on the weekly chart already. So that has definitely lowered the quality of the trade. But I'll tell you what, Euro yen though does look very good still. And same with Swiss yen, although kind of giving that one a bit more room to breathe because Swiss is still pretty strong at the moment. I'm still looking to short Swiss yen. I'll go through that shortly. But Euro yen still looks really good. You can see similar characteristics to pound yen in terms of the wicks. We pull back up, firing a lot of wicks to the upside. Clear signs that the market is struggling to push higher. So in that case, if we're not going to break resistance, then we're probably going to pull away from it and back into support, which I've got around 156. So that's the move I'm favoring. Highs here forming, basically confirming to us that resistance here is held, and we've got the continuation of this trend. So 1, 2, perhaps our third one, and then a push back into support. And yeah, we did have a pretty big gap there for Euro yen, so it did start off pretty awkward. I'm looking to see if we can hold this as resistance now. Market's been pretty consistent with some lower highs. So I'm looking to see if we could do something like this with Euro yen, push down, retest, and then that will be my trade for an entry. And of course, at least targets back at the low, but I'll be trying to see if I can stretch the trade and really make Euro yen work hard. Because Swiss yen and Euro yen, the only two yen pairs that haven't really dropped. Every other yen pair has dropped hard, and yen's been strong. It's just Euro's been strong as well, and Swiss has been very strong. So that's why we haven't seen those two moves. But I do think they're going to play catch up with the other yen pairs. So that's why I see opportunity here. So yeah, Euro yen keeping a very close eye for some shorts. We've cleared through some support now. So I think the shorts are ready, or getting ready actually. Not ready yet. Ahmed, quick look at UJ and the DAX. Okay, we'll take a look. Clickbait ambience, no problem. Happy to help. Good morning, Lauder. I hope you are doing good. Welcome to the stream. Okay, pound CAD. Okay, I'll get through that one shortly. I literally just had a look at pound CAD actually. If you scroll back like 3 minutes, you probably see the analysis to pound CAD there. But yeah, I'll go through UJ and the DAX as well, and I'll go through my watch list shortly as well. But yeah, Euro yen, I do like this one to the downside, so I'm going to keep a close eye. It's on the watch list for me at the moment, so I'm currently watching it and hoping we can get a bit of an entry that looks something like this, and then see if I can swing it away. The market is a little bit corrective, a little bit choppy. There's a lot of wicks here, so I have to kind of be careful with how I go about things, because there might still be a bit of erratic behavior, which is very easy to wick you out of a trade before going in your favor. So being a bit careful of that, but otherwise, I do like support here, which is now holding it as resistance, so starting to favor a bit more downside. We'll take a look at dollar yen next, and then we'll go through the DAX. So dollar yen, I spoke about this one on the weekend as well. I said, again, the market's still clearing out these lows, so being careful, because I'm still very bearish in dollar yen. I still think we can push it all the way back to 140. Really powerful support here, and I do think the market is naturally attracted to that level, and we're still seeing momentum continue. The only thing I don't like about dollar yen is that the market is still pretty corrective. It's not like we're trending well and seeing really strong momentum and clarity in the trend. I mean, there is clarity in the trend in terms of the successive lower highs. We haven't broken structure, so that box is ticked, but we are still incredibly corrective, and you don't really see a trend like this last too long before we do turn around and see some upside, because this is not really healthy market continuation. We're seeing successive pullbacks, a sign that we're really lacking that momentum to get the trend really going. So I do think a move to the upside looks likely. So I'll be waiting for a push at least back to this area here for dollar yen, which is 149 for a short. And that could be a really nice area for a short, perhaps for a day or two potentially. Again, you can keep it relatively simple, shorts back at the low or some on the lower time frame. There is, of course, a lot more downside to take advantage of if we do see that move. But again, be prepared for price potentially turn up against you if that move isn't fulfilled. But yeah, dollar yen I'm still pretty bearish on. I think as long as we maintain the lower highs, shorts is really the bias to have. You don't really want to try and anticipate reversals because they take their time, and there'll be situations where you're kind of waiting for a reversal to happen, but the market keeps dropping and you miss out on a bunch of opportunities to take advantage of. So Aussie yen, I like the shorts of this one. 149 I think is a great place to short from. Nice range there, strong drop to the downside. That's kind of where I'll wait for price to pull back into, and then yeah, back to support would make for a healthy target as well. Okay, we'll go through the DAX next. Trade of the year on Aussie CHF, appreciate it. Yeah, it was a pretty big move. Probably one of my longer trades I've done, to be honest. Looking too long at any time after magnificent shorts. I'm actually debating getting into some longs for Aussie CHF, or pretty much, well, yeah, Aussie CHF, New Zealand CHF, maybe CAD CHF, but definitely Aussie or New Zealand because they are oversold big time. And typically when we see moves like that for both Aussie and New Zealand CHF, they tend to reverse pretty hard back to the upside. Again, just looking at, we'll go through them in detail in a moment, but there's definitely opportunity to the upside. It's just very difficult to work out where the lows are going to be, because it's very easy to jump into a long and then get stopped out, jump into a long, get stopped out, jump into a long, get stopped out, and then you catch the winner. And then by then you're kind of just making back what you lost there with the winning trade. So it's about timing it right, and I will keep an eye on that. But I do think there's definitely a lot of opportunity for Aussie CHF. I mean, I'm kind of quite focused on selling CHF JPY, so that's kind of my thinking of trading CHF, because I'm expecting CHF to lose to lose its strength. I got confused about the strength and weakness there. So I'm expecting CHF to lose its strength. So Aussie CHF can retrace, New Zealand CHF can retrace, other CHF pairs can retrace as well. But the way I'm looking to trade that is probably on Swiss yen. But I'll discuss Aussie CHF and New Zealand CHF shortly. What's up, Anthony? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. I'm doing good for my trade there as well in the streets on buying position Euro, Pound, and Gold from last week down in red. Hope you close the gap so I can close my position. Damn, that is a tough spot to be in. Yeah, especially with it's because of the current climate of the market. It's not like a normal week where you might be holding some positions in negative and the market opens up. Maybe there's a slight gap. But right now, we're kind of in a fearful market right now. All markets are pretty much bleeding. So it's just a very difficult place to be in, because the longer you hold the position, price may close the gap, but of course it may get worse as well. So it's just basically your decision. It's either hope the gap closes and close with a smaller loss, or close with a slightly larger loss if it doesn't. But yeah, it's always a tricky situation to be in. Tricky situation. And especially when you trade similar markets as well, like long euro, long pound, long gold, kind of banking on USD weakness. And if USD is weak, it's going to punish you. But yeah, I mean, I do think the gaps will close, to be honest. But yeah, it might not as well. So definitely be cautious with that. I'll go through some of those pairs shortly, though. Let me take a look at the DAX. So the DAX, the DAX very, very bearish. Wow, the DAX is not messing around, is it, at all? Look at that. And that's today's candle, huge move already. So looks like the DAX is just having some healthy retracement, giving back so much gains here since November 2024. All of this upsides are raised in about 3-4 weeks here. Yeah, I do think the indices are hitting some lows, to be honest. I do think they can start to retrace. They may still create new lows. For example, the DAX might find support here, push up for a few days, and then completely sell off again. That still might be the case. But I think the markets are pretty stretched, so naturally we are going to see a bit of a pullback. Now, dropping to the lower time frames. I mean, we're coming into some nice areas where we could bounce, but I want to see a lot more development here before jumping into any longs. I want to see price forming support, rejecting it again, wicks. Something telling me that price is likely to change direction now. I need to see a lot more than that for the DAX. I do think retracements on the cards now. I do think we can push up, potentially back to some of these areas here on the left, which I'll highlight. We could see retracement back into those areas before continuing. But I want to see a lot more evidence that support that price is about to turn. I think jumping to some longs now is just a bit aggressive. The market could easily drop again, today before, or tomorrow even, before it does pull back. So be careful of that. But we're coming to some areas where naturally I think the market's going to push to the upside anyway. And then some areas to probably keep in mind for some targets as well. Okay, so I'll go through Aussie CHF, New Zealand CHF as well. Lord, I'm actually long on CHF and would love to see that continuation. Of course you would, you're long. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking to short. It doesn't look like it's quite ready yet. I think there might actually still be more upside before I do short it, to be honest. So I'm not necessarily looking to short it right now. We'll go through CHF. Let me just take a look at Aussie CHF. So Aussie CHF, this one's been insanely bearish, of course, smashing through the lows. I wish I held on to the position, to be honest. It would have been a much bigger trade. I did have my take profit at the wick low there, but again, still happy with the position. You're not going to be perfect. You're always going to get out right at the low of a trade. It's always that hindsight bias. But yeah, a really big move there. You can see with that weekly candle. But the key takeaway here for Aussie CHF is our all-time lows. And just zooming back, looking left, every time the market creates new all-time lows, what happens? We snap to the upside, new lows, snap to the upside, new lows, snap to the upside, so on and so forth. It happens pretty much every time. Of course, this one was a much bigger move before he did eventually recover, but typically, soon-ish after we create new lows, the market does want to push the upside. So I do think a bit of recoveries on the cards, and hence there could be some buys to follow. I think in terms of a rough guide, if I can whip out a bit of a trend line here, that's kind of the trend line price is respecting. So starting from the wick, the candlesticks over there back in 1987, funny enough. That's more or less the trend line the market's forming or following. And now we're back in that area again. So I think naturally Aussie CHF sooner or later is going to recover. And that's when I expect CHF to lose that strength, become weak again. And then hopefully there'll be some opportunities to trade, perhaps maybe Aussie CHF buys, maybe CHF JPY sells, or maybe New Zealand CHF buys. We can go take a look at that pair as well. You can see if I expand to the weekly chart. No, I'm already on the weekly. Again, what happens with this one, every time we create a new low, market pulls back. And this one's actually due a pullback for a while now. So I think this one's likely to pull back too. And again, if I create like a rough trend line, probably would draw it from here. I would say we're more or less coming into an area where you expect the market to see some upside. Connecting from that swing point to this one, and now eventually here. I do think New Zealand CHF can push up. And typically as well, a key thing to note as well is that when we do sometimes reverse, sometimes the market will have one more big push to the upside or one more big move to the downside. Sort of like this position here, this candle here. One last big sell, maybe suck in some more sellers before we do turn around. This could be price now putting in the low. Now, it's still a very, very aggressive trade. The market is bearish. It is trending bearish. So I'm not saying this is a guaranteed position, but typically looking left, seeing what the market does historically, after we create new lows, we do tend to reverse. So I think if we can see price really start to confirm support here, maybe a nice double bottom, there could be some nice longs to potentially take and take advantage of that recovery. And yeah, in terms of CHF JPY, I'm looking to short this one, but at the moment it's still looking really bearish. This was a short idea I had yesterday, but we never got the bearish engulfing candle on the 4-hour chart. So there was no trade for me there, but I'm looking to see if we can short from the trend line, which is why I want price to go a little bit higher. So we've got first high over there, second high over there, we've got third high over there as well. And now I'm looking for potentially a fourth high, so tag the trend line. And then I get into a position, there's some key resistance here on the left as well, as we can see. So I got a lot of confidence in, I believe we're pulling back into the 0.618 if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, just about tapped into it. So this is coming into a nice area for a short. This is coming into a nice area for a short for Swiss yen. I think there's a bit more upside to be had. I say that because you can see, was that Thursday's candle? Yeah, Thursday's candle here, that bullish one. Create support very well, strong close. I do think that's going to be a continuation of that candle there. I think the weekly chart, if I get rid of my drawings for a second, the weekly chart did give us a wick to the downside naturally, so I think we're naturally going to spike higher. But you can see though, we're getting 1, 2, 3 wicks all in this area, so the market is definitely losing steam. And we are very corrective, so I do think we're going to fall over at some point, but we might still see a bullish week or two before that happens. But more or less in this area, what's that, 172, maybe even 172.5, I do think we can turn around. So I'm just waiting for a strong rejection of the 4-hour chart, which is not quite there yet. I mean, this kind of still has 3 hours to go-ish before it does close, so perhaps might even get a signal then, to be honest, but I'm keeping a close eye on that. But yeah, I'm pretty bearish on Swiss yen, to be honest. It's interesting because all the other yen pairs had some really heavy bearish days / week last week. Swiss yen and euro are the only two that didn't, and that's because Swiss and euro have been pretty strong. But I don't think Swiss is going to last forever just because of what the other CHF pairs are doing. But again, that could be largely down to Aussie and New Zealand as well. It's not just CHF, of course. Aussie's been very weak, NZD's been very weak. If you have a look at pound CHF, for example, that one's nowhere near its all-time lows. I mean, had a really big drop last week, don't get me wrong, but we still got at least spiked the lows here, and you can see we're very far away, so potentially CHF might still stay relatively strong until we actually go and do that. Euro CHF likewise as well, not quite at the lows yet. CAD CHF, I think this one did create new lows, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it did drop through. So it's only euro, only euro and pound that haven't actually made new lows yet. So Aussie and NZD and CAD have been pretty weak too. Actually, not so much CAD, more so Aussie and NZD. But yeah, that's kind of my take with those currency pairs at the moment. Given that things are not normal market conditions, I think we can ignore the chart history for a while. Thing is, you say that, but I think the history is still very important because there'll be many times where, if you look back in historical data, there'll be many times where the markets are not normal there too, but they still repeat history as well. Even like COVID, for example, market's very volatile, something very unique situation. Market has very big moves, but then the market recovers very quickly as well. And typically that happens with a lot of big events as well. We have massive moves, but the market typically recovers. So it is true that the market is not normal, a bit more volatile, so you have to be a bit more cautious. But price action is price action. It's still just the study of how market participants react to price and what they do with their positions, which is typically what they normally do with positions. Maybe now they might be a bit more fearful or a bit more greedy when they're picking up new positions. But history still does tend to repeat itself, even when things are chaotic. And Doom is so welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. Definitely saying your name wrong. Apologies, but I hope you're doing good. 150 pips of 1 minute. Wow. Wait, what happened? Massive 1 minute candle on Nas. No news at the moment. 150 pips in 1 minute. What is Nas doing? Oh, it's pushing up. It is, isn't it? Wow. Maybe potentially going to fill that gap. I mean, we still got resistance above us, so I wouldn't bank on that just yet. But I do think we'll fill the gap at some point. Probably by the end of the week, we'll have done that by. But yeah, it is looking bullish, fighting to the upside. Are other markets doing that? Other indices doing it? S&P's pushing up as well. US 30, I'd imagine we're doing it too. Not as much. But yeah, Nas is trying to catch a breather here. Yeah, big candle there on the 1 minute chart. I think the market is just very volatile right now. So you just have to be very, just cautious. And I definitely would be using a stop loss. Anyway, where was I? Pound USD reversing or correcting. Okay, I'll take a look at Pound USD. Lord, take on BTC and Sol. Okay, I'll go through those as well. Let me go through Pound USD. So, yeah, Pound USD, I'm actually looking at shorting Pound, to be honest. I'm not necessarily sure about reversal in terms of, okay, now I'm expecting price to come back to the low here. I still do kind of have a bullish bias for Pound back to the highs at 1.34, 1.35. But what I can see with this price action is that the market's tried to continue and it's completely failed. We were consolidating for a while here for Pound USD. We had a very strong close to the upside on Thursday. It looked like prices are continuing, but all we did was fall flat on our face on Friday, and all that momentum has been mitigated, essentially. The market's invalidated that momentum. So I'm looking at this as kind of a fake out. So the market's fake to go to the upside, maybe trap some buyers up here. And now we're ready to start to see our bearish momentum kick back in. And especially with the weekly close as well. Weekly provides us with a lot of information. You can see we've got a pool of wicks here already. And then last week's candle kind of put the cherry on top there. Massive wick through that zone. And then pull back and close slightly bearish before the week has ended. So I do think Pound USD can see more downside. In terms of an opportunity, I'm looking for price to retrace and hopefully come back and test 1.3 and then see some more downside, similar to a big head and shoulder pattern, left, head, and right shoulder. Like I said, I'm not too sure about complete reversal because the bigger move may still be to the upside. You might just want to see a bit more of a correction first before we keep pushing. So I'm not going to bank on a complete reversal yet, but I do think price is forming some type of top, whether it's just a bigger retracement or reversal. I'm not too sure about that just yet. But in terms of a nice opportunity, a nice swing trade, I do see something forming quite nicely. Just hoping we do get a decent pullback to actually capitalize on it. But that is something I'm looking at for Pound USD. Yeah, that is what I'm looking for Pound USD. Very strong close on Friday, and that kind of just set the tone for me. By the way, guys, if you're enjoying the stream, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel as well. Make sure you hit the bell too. It's it does allow you to be notified whenever I do stream or whenever I do upload. So if you don't want to miss out on any any streams or any uploads, make sure you check that out. But if you guys are enjoying the stream, drop a like, subscribe. It does really help out, and I do really appreciate that. So yeah, pound USD, I do think downside is likely. In terms of where we're currently trading, I'm not really interested. We already had such a big bearish move, so I don't really want to be looking to sell as we approach support right now. I want price to push back up, find resistance again before I do anticipate some more downside. But not at current price. Okay, so we'll go through Bitcoin and Sol next. Dark Sean, funny thing is that institutions are buying massively the indices. Yeah, I bet they are. I bet they are. That's what I'm thinking. In terms of opportunity, I think the indices are great right now in terms of investment, because we're expecting the indices to get back to the all-time highs at some point. You know, if you kind of have a horizon of, like, let's say 3 to 5 years, I think if you were to buy now, I think there's a very, very high chance that within 3 to 5 years, you'll at least be in some type of profit. How big? That's a question you'll never know, or you can probably have an educated guess. But yeah, I do expect the S&P 500 within 3 to 5 years from now to be back at all-time highs and a lot further. So I think taking some long positions right now make a lot of sense, and I bet a lot of big players are getting very excited about that right now as well, because this is a great correction. You know, this is arguably more aggressive than 2022, and that's when we had a lot of, war coming into the markets right now. So, and this has been a lot more impulsive. So yeah, I bet they are. I bet they are. I think Nick will probably be looking to pick up some long positions as well. Okay, so let's go take a look at BTC and Sol. So yeah, Bitcoin actually like the buys, to be honest, with Bitcoin. There's some key support on the left here. There's some key resistance on the left here, which is turning into support. We've got the prior high over here, and that's around 74K. I'm looking for price to come back and retest that, and it's not too far away already. But the way Bitcoin's kind of moving, it's very, very corrective. We're having these kind of very kind of aggressive moves that kind of sharply retrace pretty quickly. As you can see, really aggressive move there, we turn around, really aggressive move there, turn around. I think another aggressive move for us to potentially turn around as well. So I actually quite like the buys here for Bitcoin as we approach 74K. I feel like that'd be a nice opportunity to perhaps maybe take it back into resistance again, maybe back into 90K. There's a big level of resistance there, which we could be attracted towards anyway. So I do actually like the buys here for Bitcoin. Of course, we're not quite at 74K yet, so kind of looking for a little bit more downside before entering any long positions. But I think based on how price is moving, based on the level itself, it looks good. I'm not too sure about a push back to the all-time highs just yet for Bitcoin. I feel like we might still have a much bigger correction. Bitcoin, in fairness, hasn't had such a big correction in terms of what it normally does. I mean, don't get me wrong, 30% is still very big, but I'm talking potentially 45, 50, 60%. Yeah, that's not unreasonable expectation here for Bitcoin. I mean, this last correction here was 76%, so even 50% of that, 50% would take us to about here. You know, I feel like we could get something similar to that for Bitcoin for this move as well. But in terms of a nice swing trade, I think that could be a decent opportunity there. Okay, so we'll take a look at Sol next. What's up, Lighton? Hope you're doing good. Welcome. Each this change of time clashes with my office time, but will avail myself every opportunity I find. Must I quit my job? Of course not, Lighton. Do not quit your job just for the streams, my man. Again, the streams are recorded, so even if you do miss the stream completely, you can always watch them back if you want to. They're on the channel there. They are recorded. You don't have to quit your job. I know you're just joking. But happy to have you on the stream. Hope you're well. Okay, so let's go through Sol. I was thinking that he would be, yeah. I think I don't know. I feel like he would be though. He did mention it last week. It was before the markets did have their crazy drop, but he did say that if the markets do retrace a little bit more, he'd be looking to pick up some new positions. And I'm pretty sure him seeing a big move like that would definitely excite him to take some buys as well. To be honest, I don't think he would. I don't think he would rethink things. I think he might be a bit more aggressive with buys actually. Anyway, Sol. So yeah, Sol's not looking too hot either. I mean, I would imagine most cryptocurrencies right now are not looking too hot right now. It's looking pretty bearish. It looks like we're starting to break through this support, which is not really good news there, because this has been some really strong support since May 2024. Breaking through that probably means a lot more downside could be on the cards. I think I'll probably wait for stronger weekly candle close. We did see one last week. I'll probably wait for a stronger close than that, because I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bullish recovery. But given the current climate we're in, I wouldn't be surprised if we keep falling. So yeah, if we remain below, what is this, 116, I'll probably say 116, then you're looking at a very bearish market here, and I'll probably just focus on this level here. Can find a level a bit more support resistance. If we hold that, I think the market's in free fall a little bit there. So yeah, Sol's not looking too good. Bitcoin, however, at the moment not looking too good, but it's coming back to some nice area of support where I do think we can catch a bit of a bounce. Yes, USDZAR, we can take a look, no problem. What's up, Soccer Highlights? Welcome to the stream. I think BTC is a short-term short and maybe bullish in the long term, and maybe what trade are you in the moment? Not any positions at the moment. I exited my Aussie Chef trade last week. I got taken up break even on on silver. I got Bitcoin in the brain. So yeah, I'm not in any positions at the moment. Looking to see if I can get back to the market, but I haven't actually, because it's a difficult situation, especially for a swing trade as well, because we've seen some big moves in the market, so I kind of need the market to settle a little bit before I jump back in. I'll go through my watch list shortly. I'll just go through USDZAR for light, and then I'll go through my watch list and share what I'm looking to trade. But yeah, it's definitely difficult, especially swing, because you can have some big stop losses as well. And the market is pretty volatile too. But in terms of USDZAR, last time I looked at this one, was looking very bullish, wasn't it? Yeah, very strong close in the week. So it looks like we're probably going to push back to the high here. What's that, 19.6? Looks like the general kind of uptrend is just continuing here for USDZAR. Almost looked like an indice, to be honest, minus the violent pullbacks. But yeah, it looks like this one's pushing back to resistance here, 19.6, 19.7. I would say in terms of opportunities to trade this, just looking at decent pullbacks really. I like this brief pause here, really strong down move with that 4-hour candle, just for price to turn around and keep flying. So I would suggest if we can pull back, retest that zone, that could be a nice place for an entry, probably more focused on the retest of the high. It's around 19. Even this would be a nice place for a retest as well. We did use it quite well over there. But I do like this zone here, and I would imagine 19.6 is likely where we're headed. We've taken out some major structure on the left here too. So that really sets the tone there for the market. I think it would be very unlikely for us to suddenly sell off now. So yeah, USDZAR looking really bullish, onwards and upwards for this one. 19.6, 19.7 is the next big target. In terms of opportunities, you do want to see price pull back against you, so you can find some longs to get into a position. But yeah, USDZAR very, very bullish. So in terms of my watch list, so CTF JPY shorts looking really good, and we're coming to some nice areas. Not too sure this one's quite ready yet, but around 172 is kind of where I'm looking to sell it. I'll be looking for entries on the 4-hour chart, so that's kind of what we're waiting for so far. No kind of 4-hour entry just yet. But I'm looking for a lower high. We've got one over there, second over there, third over there. From a weekly chart, I can see price is kind of slowing down as well. Let me just move this out because there's a lot of lines here. But I can see that price is coming to a really nice area of confluence with this trend line here especially too. So it would be nice if this week's candle can actually wick into the trend line as well and pull back. That would be a really nice bonus for the position. And then, yeah, if it all goes well, expecting a big swing back into support and a lot further too as well. So CGF-JPY, sorry. Not thinking straight there. CGF-JPY shorts look really good. Just waiting for probably a wick into the trend line. Then, of course, some confirmations to get into the trade. Euro yen shorts, I like this one as well. This one's actually something I need to keep a close eye on because we're trading at a nice area already. As you can see, price support, this return resistance. We've had a really bullish move since the gap at the start of the week. I'm looking to see if we can form a bit of a double top here for a short and a push back down into the support there. The way I see it for Euro Yen is that we've got this kind of wedge pattern, so to speak. The market's making lower highs, but also equal lows here. So we're kind of just squeezing like this, and the market is eventually going to break out, whether it's to the upside or to the downside, we're not to know. I'm expecting it to be to the downside, just like all the other yen pairs did as well. But yeah, I'm expecting it to be to the downside, and as long as we can maintain that trend line there, which so far we're doing a pretty good job at with all those wicks, I do think we're likely to roll over. So the plan this week is try and catch the high of the week. You know, we're pushing up right now. We're going to find some resistance eventually. I'm expecting us to, and then that's when we're going to hopefully find some shorts. At the moment, I'm looking at the retest of the level. If not, then I'll wait for price to push back into resistance around 164 for some shorts, and that would be the opportunity I look to take. But yeah, Swiss yen shorts, Euro yen shorts look really good. Pound yen, pound USD, sorry, not pound yen. Pound USD as well looks really good for some shorts. I like the way the market kind of rallied to the upside really aggressively, followed by a very aggressive move in the opposite directions, kind of like an impulse one way for an impulse the other. Big fake out pattern, and typically does normally mean more downside is on the cards here. So looking for a bit of a correction for pound USD. I retested the high there, and then I'm looking to short it. I also do like Euro USD longs, which of course does contradict the bearish bias I have for pound USD, but I'm not looking to take Euro USD longs for far. It's more of a short-term play. Euro USD is still very much in an uptrend, and there is still this area here beneath us where we did consolidate and had a pretty nice move to the upside there. So naturally, as we approach that area, I do think we'll likely find support and have a bit of a bounce. I'm not too sure if I'll try and stretch the trade all the way back to the swing high. I might take profits way before then, but it still looks like a nice long opportunity to me, especially if we can have a corrective pullback. Pound USD impulsed up and impulsed down really aggressively. This case for Euro, we've impulsed up really nicely, and we're pushing down pretty correctly as well. So if you can keep that up, then I do think naturally we'll find support there and have a bit of a rally. I'll manage the trade closely because I'm not so confident about this being a trade that goes for very far. So be careful of that. But I do like the position here for some longs around 1.0500. So USD longs, pound USD shorts, Euro yen shorts, Swiss yen shorts, and I think that's pretty much it, to be fair. I think there might be one more, which I'm forgetting. No, that's it actually. Because the CAD pairs, they dropped without me last week. New Zealand CAD, they had a really big sell. Aussie CAD had a big sell. I'm not really so enthusiastic about taking some pullback opportunities here. So I'm going to kind of let that slide. And Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar, they drop pretty hard. Dollar CAD looks a bit awkward. I mean, yeah, okay, dollar CAD. I forgot about dollar CAD actually. There's some red flags with dollar CAD, so it's on the watch list, but I'm just not so eager about the trade, just because we've had a very impulsive recovery here, and the pullback wasn't very corrective. So I've got some red flags there. So me being a bit cautious. It's on the watch list because we're coming to a really nice level of resistance, which if we hold, that could make for a really nice trade back into support. So I'm going to keep an eye on dollar CAD. But I've got some red flags. So I want to see some really strong rejections. I'm going to be picky about the position. If it does look really good, then of course I'll take it. But if it's not looking up to scratch, I'll let it be, to be honest. But so yeah, dollar CAD was the one I forgot about. But yeah, other than that, CAD pairs have moved. There's nothing really there for me. Crosses, they've had insane moves to the upside. Of course, these guys, I'm expecting a pullback to happen at some point, but it's just very difficult to pick the high here. Euro Aussie, insane move to the upside. So I'm not really interested with these ones. I mean, pullbacks would look good. Retest of these areas would look good, but we're very far away. So there's no point of putting this pair on my watch list, at least for this week anyway. Because if we do get there this week, then that means we're going to have a really hard bearish move, and that would put me off looking to buy it, to be honest. So yeah, in terms of opportunities that I like the most, it will be those for Euro USD longs, Pound USD shorts, Swiss yen shorts, and Euro yen shorts as well. That's kind of where my focus is for the week. And again, that could change based on how things are moving, but so far they look good. Dark Sean looks like we're going to fill the gap. Okay, today, given how things are looking at the moment, okay, with the momentum. I'll have a look to see if that momentum is continuing. But yeah, that's the funny thing. Sometimes you're like, okay, I expect something to happen in the next week or two, but then it happens. It happens before lunch. That's the funny thing about the market. It's difficult to predict. But yeah, I do think that the gap fill is likely at some point because, of course, gaps, they normally do fill anyway. But I think just because of how bearish NAS, other indices have been as well, the markets are really stretched. And now we're coming back to some high time frame areas of support as well. So that's kind of three overlapping confluences of why we could see the gap fill. So I think by Friday we should do that. But hey, we might even do it today with that momentum. Lighten, okay, we'll have a look at dollar CAD as well. 360 pips left to recover, already a total of 660 pips. Wow, from the low to the current high. Yeah, that's a lot of pips. Lighten, that USD CAD in 30 minutes and 15 minute time frame. Okay, not my usual time frames, but hey. Okay, we'll have a look. See, Sinolo, what is up? Check against USD. Okay, we'll take a look for you, no problem. First, let me have a look at NAS, see what that's doing. I'll have a look at dollar CAD on the lower time frames. Of course, guys, if you have any particular time frames, let me know as well, because of course, by default, I'm just going to look at mostly like the 4-hour daily chart. To be honest, that's kind of where I plot my trades from, and 4 hours for execution. But if there are specific time frames which you want me to look at, I can look at the low time frames as well. So always let me know if you want me to. But yeah, for NAS, so like I said, we'll come back to some big areas. Of course, we're retesting the high there on the left. The market had a very, very bearish week last week. So naturally, I do think we can see some upside, even if the market is going to continue falling. So I think the gap is naturally going to fill. And yeah, we're not too far away. That was a pretty big move there, actually, on the lower time frames. Pretty strong close then, the 15-minute as well. Of course, you got the gap started, well, actually the gap started technically over here actually, but I think at least if we can push back to that 17,250 area, I think that would suffice. So yeah, the gap I feel like is likely to fill here, to be honest. I mean, at this rate, it could be a lot quicker than I expected, to be honest. But I do think we can see at least a retracement for NAS, even if price just goes and does this, pushes up to come back down, which I've got a feeling that might be the case. But again, that gap is probably still going to provide some opportunity on the lower time frame. So if you're looking at that, keep that in mind. But yeah, good spot there, Darkshon. Looks like we're seeing a lot of momentum there. Anyway, let's take a look at dollar CAD, and then I will have a look at USD as well. So yeah, dollar CAD's an interesting one. It's on the watch list for myself. There's a couple red flags which I mentioned, which is number one, the big wick on the weekly chart there. We had a pretty bearish candle at one stage, but just before the week close, market pulls all the way back up and respects support on our left, which is not a good sign. It means support's still being respected. And then on the 4-hour chart, the retracement has been pretty aggressive as well. As I say, I want my pullbacks to be a lot more corrective than the bearish leg. It doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be perfectly corrective, but I want it to be a clear, distinct change in kind of the way the market is moving between the impulse leg and the corrective leg. In this case, we've come up a little bit too hard for my liking. So I'm being cautious here. If I see some really strong rejections, it may trigger me into the trade, which is why I'm still keeping an eye on it, because in fairness to dollar CAD, this is a really nice level of support, which I do think can provide some nice resistance, but there's been some red flags, so I'm being a bit picky. In terms of like the 30-minute time frame, 30-15, 30-minute time frame, we'll go a bit more corrective. So this is what I like to see, to be honest, a little bit more slow. We are coming back to some highs here, so this is actually not a bad place for a short on the lower time frames. I wouldn't be looking for anything crazy, but if I was looking to take a trade on the 15-minute, I think I'll probably wait for another push to the upside first, see if we can take out the highs, and then try and see if there's a rejection afterwards, and that would be my trade. Targets, I'll probably keep it relatively simple, back into the low here of the range, because we're having a really tough time trying to break through. But yeah, shorts look pretty good here for the 50-minute chart. You're in a big level of resistance on the higher time frame, so that's a big plus. And you can see the 50-minute chart was starting to find resistance anyway. So it does make sense to short. But I think I would keep it relatively simple, 1.421 as a target to have. So yeah, dollar CAD shorts, nice area. Could see some nice rejection. 15-minute chart, might wait for one more rally just to spike into the high before selling off, because that original rejection didn't really see too much momentum from. So yeah, and I wouldn't mind actually a spike above the high, fake out some early positions to sell off is always a great confidence for a trade. So yeah, that's kind of what I'd wait for there for USD CAD. In terms of USD, this one's looking really bearish as a whole. You can see the last week's candle here. Look at the way it closed. Really big wick to the upside and closed really bearish. I think there's just a very high chance that we continue falling and end up taking out the wick here on the left here. I think for price to turn around, it's going to take a very aggressive rejection, a huge bearish wick to the downside, something like that for us to reverse. At the moment, looking a little bit bullish here on the lower time frames, and good, because that could mean pullbacks are on the cards here on the horizon. I mean, it's been a pretty lovely bearish move there. So I think it's naturally just probably time for price to pull back anyway. And if we can, fantastic. Keep a look at 0.566 there, which is the retest of the prior low. I'd probably keep an eye on this level here too, just in case you have a slightly deeper pullback. But more or less in that zone looks pretty good to me. And yeah, back down at support makes the most sense for a target. So yeah, pretty bearish here in the USD. NZD's been pretty weak. Aussie's been pretty weak. I think that's still generally the idea, although I do think they're going to retrace pretty soon. We've got some really healthy support and resistance just above us, which we haven't really come back for a retest of just yet either. So I'd wait for us to get there. And then, yeah, back at support makes for a good target as well. But yeah, NZD still pretty bearish on. Still pretty bearish on this one. But please don't wish for a spike high. Not a like of that price action at the moment. Are you reading the position, Lighton? I mean, again, I say a spike high, but it's not me saying that's gonna happen. Yeah, it's just saying that if it did happen, if we were to see some selling pressure afterwards, a nice rejection, a bearish engulfing candle, that could provide a nice trade to short. I'm just saying if it does happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen. And funny enough, if it does spike to the upside, it might just keep going as well. So might not even recover. But I have to admit, at the moment, it is rejecting a bit better because it looks like support here is about to break. If that support can close there in the next 9 minutes, because that's when the next 50-minute candle close. If we can close below that, then you're looking pretty good. If we leave another wick, then we probably will see an attempt to the upside. Whether it breaks through or not, we'll yet to see. But yeah, if you can get closed below on this 50-minute candle, that means momentum has already shifted. So probably will see a push back into support there. But yeah, sorry to scare you with the spike. But hey, if you do get stopped out of position, as long as you're not betting the whole farm, betting your whole account, there's nothing wrong. As long as you're taking good positions, you can always look to get back in. And if you have a positive risk reward, okay, you might take a loss, but you can make that back and then some on the winning position. And that's really the aim of the game, isn't it? You know, when you win, make sure you win bigger than when you lose. So yeah, dollar CAD, that's my take on that one as well. But yeah, in terms of some of the crosses, there've been some really big moves. And again, that's kind of the situation in the market right now. A lot of markets have had some big moves. So wow. Is pound very weak or something? When did that happen? Okay, it's been happening gradually. Yeah, when I last had a look at this market, this was trading up, well, around there somewhere. And that's pulled back and it's actually looking bearish. I mean, the candle's still got 10 hours left before it closes, so I'm not going to judge the candle yet. But yeah, we had a lot of momentum there in price retrace. Euro entity, what are we doing? I was just about to say how bullish these markets are, but have turned around. Pound Aussie, same thing as well. I mean, they're still very bullish, don't get me wrong. You still had that huge candle on Friday. But yeah, perhaps we're hitting high. I mean, Pound Aussie did something pretty crazy. We took out the highs there, which was from COVID. So that is basically 5 years ago, which is crazy how COVID was 5 years ago. But yeah, we've taken out the wick high there. I don't think we've quite pushed enough to get into resistance here just yet. Oh no, we have tapped into that resistance. So naturally, we might be seeing Pound Aussie have a bit of retracement. I feel like the market's still very bullish. So as we push back down into these areas, it's still very much an area which price could find support and keep pushing from. But it looks like we're due a correction. And I wonder if we can see some Aussie strength come into the market. How's Aussie dollar looking? That was looking a little bit bullish as well. Looks like we're naturally pushing to the upside here too. So yeah, I do think some upside is on the cards here for Aussie dollar. I was talking about this one on the weekend as well. I did say if you're bullish, it's not a bad place to look to get long. The way I see it, we're spiking 1, 2, 3. I feel like price can definitely recover this. I do feel like we'll probably see some Aussie dollar strength coming back into the market because this one's taken out some major support here on the left. So I do think naturally we're due a bigger pullback at some point. And as I said earlier, typically before we do see price turn around, we do get one last big sell, one last big buy before the market does turn around. It happens quite a lot. If you kind of look at, if I can find some examples, here's kind of one slowing down, one last big bullish candle, then we turn around. Kind of over here as well, we had some big bearish candles coming down, then we had a bit more of a doji candle, one last big sell, and then we turn around. Let me find some more examples. Sort of like here as well, although we didn't get a big close. Price did spike pretty hard to the upside, then turns around, come back down. Over here too, big push down, correctively falling. Then we had a big sell there. Then that's when the market does turn around as well. Saw over here too, very corrective move to the upside, big push to the upside one more. Then we did turn around. Of course, here with COVID, we were very, very corrective, big sell, of course, filled by the fear of COVID, and then price did recover from that as well. Sort of over there, but not so much, kind of pushing that a little bit. Let's try and find one more example of this. Nah, not so much over there. I think probably argue this move here, big push down, then eventually reverse. It does happen quite a lot. Probably Aussie dollar is not the best market to look for it, to be honest. You probably want to look at something a bit more volatile, like a pound NZD or something like that, or like a yen pair actually. But yeah, we've had one big drop there. I feel like this could be that, maybe that last drop to the downside potentially before we do push on. Again, I wouldn't bank on it being a reversal. In terms of trading the opportunity, I wouldn't say, okay, I wouldn't wait for price to be corrective, wait for a big drop and then just buy straight into that, because it very well could still continue before it does reverse. The way I look to trade it is I wait for the market to be corrective, have that big sell and then recover. Then I know that, okay, now potentially you might see some more upside. So the pullbacks after that become a very nice trade. And of course, it pretty much just forms an inverse head and shoulder pattern. Left shoulder, there's your head and there's your right shoulder. And then of course, you're looking to try and anticipate that pullback to trade it to the upside. So you let the market kind of flush people out first and then you get involved afterwards. So taking the buys here is always a bit more aggressive. But let's say if the market did push to the upside very aggressively back up again, well, then we're looking at this as the big climax, the big fake move to the downside. Then the plan would be a correction afterwards, and the continuation will be the trader look to try and get take advantage of. Like I said, there's nothing wrong about trying to anticipate the low forming. It's just more aggressive trades, waiting for it to happen, then the pullback after is naturally a more conservative opportunity to take, because you know things are a bit more confirmed in your favor. Here we generally just might keep selling off. Not every big move is price putting a top to a trend or a bottom to a trend. Sometimes the market is just generally continuing. But we're in that kind of area where we could turn around from. But in terms of the USD pairs, pound Aussie dollars is not really something I'm looking at right now. Pound USD is definitely probably my favorite. Again, same situation here as well. We've had a lovely big move, to the upside. Market's been trending well. What do we get? One last big push to the upside, very strong move, and then what happens? We come straight back down again. So the same pattern we just talking about there with Aussie dollar, we can see it in all its glory here with pound. There. So again, basically now is the conservative opportunity. Now I'm waiting for price to correct itself and then continue. And of course, it does, of course, mirror head and shoulder pattern, left, head, and right shoulder. Now expecting price to continue, which is why chart patterns are very powerful, because there's understanding, there's meaning, there's a reason why there's the pattern is there. You know, head and shoulder pattern kind of sounds a little bit tedious, a little bit childish. You know, head and shoulder pattern, you got people trading with millions and basing on human body parts, the left shoulder, head, and the right shoulder, but there's a reason, there's meaning behind it. It just happens to resemble a bit of a head and shoulder, and it's easy to remember as well. So yeah, the name stuck. But the way I see it, we've had that impulse. Now I'm looking for the correction, aka the right shoulder, and then for price to continue. And 1.27 looks really good there as well. I'll see about Aussie CHF and New Zealand CHF, because there could be some nice long opportunities here. But I want price to really form support first before I do thinking about some longs. Because it is a very aggressive trade. The market's at all-time lows right now, and it could still drop. But there is a lot of confidence here, so I think there might be a nice position there. But yeah, in terms of the pairs I like the most, no problem, Sultan. Happy to help. Glad you're enjoying the stream. The pair I like the most is probably Euro Yen or Swiss Yen, because I feel like with the other yen pairs falling so hard, these guys are due some corrections. I've actually gone through the rest of the yen pairs actually. Let me go do that quickly. So I went through euro yen, dollar yen, Swiss yen, pound yen. I haven't gone through Aussie yen or New Zealand yen. Of course, I'm not so interested in shorting these ones anymore because they've already had all the fun, you know. Price has already smashed through the lows here, like no tomorrow. And we've come back into support, I'm pretty sure, more or less. Yeah, we tapped into support there. So I'm not looking to short New Zealand yen anymore. We're very much in bullish territory right now. If anything, we could see some upside. Aussie yen likewise as well. Big move to the downside. Yeah, this is Aussie. Oh, New Zealand yen, sorry. I was looking at Aussie already. And New Zealand yen, more or less at support too. So again, New Zealand yen done its job too, taking out that wick low. So yeah, I'm not so interested about getting involved with shorts anymore. If anything, longs look the best option here right now. So again, a bit more counter trend, but based on where we're trading, it makes the most sense. You're only looking to short right now. Even for pound yen as well, wicking through that prior low, it's just not a good time to be looking to short pound yen either. So I'm waiting for this to push up as well before I short. And these are the two areas that make the most sense. So I'm waiting for that to pull back too. And same thing with CAD yen as well. Waiting for that to pull back as well. I mean, this one hasn't created a new low, but has already broken through low here on the left. And if I go to the weekly chart, we're just generally right now trading an area of support anyway. So I don't think shorts are the best bet, even if I think prices can likely to continue further. As we can see, some really heavy support on the left there. Not the best place to be looking to take a short position. Again, not so much the lower time frames. It's just so much if you're looking to swing a trade, hold it for a few days. There's a good chance we find support and bounce. So if you're looking at intraday position, you can only be in it for a session potentially, or less than a day, then you can get away with that. But if you're looking to hold for more than a day, probably going to run into trouble at these prices. So I'll be careful of that. So that's why Swiss and Euro look a lot better, because these guys are still holding resistance or trading in areas of resistance. Yeah, Swiss yen still not quite ready yet. Kind of want to see this one spike into the trend line first before I do look for any opportunities there. But definitely a pair which I'm going to be looking closely at. And if I have a look at the yen basket, so yen basket wicking to the upside, I suppose we're struggling at the highs here a little bit. You can see if I take that across, is this the weekly? No, this is the daily chart. So the last daily candle, so Friday, big wick to the upside, pull back, close just below the wick there. It'll be interesting to see what this candle does. If we do that again, is price going to leave another big wick just to close bearish? Well, that means probably tomorrow we'll get a bit of a drop then. And that essentially tells me that resistance here is holding. So being very cautious of that. But at the moment, I'm still favoring the yen basket to go and take out the wick high here. The way I see it, the market's placing a bit of a low. We've had a very, very big recovery, and now we're just putting higher lows as the market continues. So I'm expecting us to go and take out the high there. So if we do push down, I just see it as an opportunity to pick up some longs again. I think for Aussie yen, it would be nice to come back and revisit some of these areas. Find some buying opportunities down there. That would be a nice situation there. And hopefully be able to swing it back into resistance. And that will be my trade on the yen pairs I'm looking for. But we'll see. I think that daily candle is going to provide a lot of information. Friday's candle didn't manage to break out. Let's see if Monday can do that. I mean, Monday, I don't think Monday's got any bottom wick there, so we might turn around. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, yen basket still bullish back to the high, so the buy still stands. Just maybe have to be a bit patient because we do go through a bit of a pullback. But yeah, yen pairs is still something where I'm really keen on trading, so I'm going to focus a lot of my efforts there. Crosses, not really interested. You got your CAD pairs, Aussie CAD. huge move to the downside. I think this is naturally due retracement as well. If we look to the left, we've taken out some major support levels here. I think naturally the market is due a correction. If I go to the monthly chart, yeah, I think the monthly would be an interesting candle closure, because if you look to the month here, this is back in COVID. Take that across. We haven't really seen a strong close in the monthly chart, even before 2020. I have to go all the way back there. So since 2020, the market has just been respecting support. We tapped into it once, wick, gone. Tapped into it again, wick, gone. Now we tap into it again. Is it another wick and then we turn around, or are we actually going to get a strong close this time? We'll have to wait 23 days to find that out. But so far, still mainly trading area of support. So again, naturally looking for Aussie CAD to reverse as well. It was like momentum's really shifting. Nice little wick there on that 4-hour candle closure. We'll see how this 4-hour candle closes in a minute. Well, a long minute, about 2 hours and 8 minutes. Before it does close. But if we can find support here, there might be some nice short-term buys to look at for Aussie yen. In terms of pound CAD and euro CAD, I'm pretty bearish on these two. I think pound CAD is going to leave us a little bit in the dust there. But let me just get rid of that. In terms of the weekly chart here, again, a lot of piercing wicks to the upside, price struggling at resistance. And then again, by the end of the week, you can see we've got a pretty strong close there on the weekly chart as price really confirms momentum with the bears. So I do think pound CAD is naturally going to see a push back into support here. And then we'll see what we do next. Potentially find support to turn around. Maybe we have to wait and see. But I think there's a very good chance that we do spike low. We might not necessarily close bearish. That's a big tip there with candlesticks, because it's always very difficult to guess the color of the candle. I mean, it's 50-50, but again, for example, price at resistance here, struggling to break through. It closes a doji, but you still got a bit of a bearish move there. So the key thing to know is the wicks, because that represents the move. Whether the market actually closes there by the end of the week is not really of your concern, because if the market moves 100 pips but then moves 75 by the end of the week in the opposite direction, well, if you could take profit at the 100 pips level, you've made your profit. If you held to the end of the week, then of course it would have retraced 75 pips against you, or again, that's just rough estimation. That's if you entered right at the low of the candle, of course. But if we could see a bit of a spike to the downside, I think we'll like to see that. We might find support and turn around and close bullish, so be prepared for that. But in terms of a good opportunity for pound CAD, I was looking at this area here on the weekend. Nice support, did hold as resistance pretty well. If we could see price spike into that, potentially catch the next lower high. Got quite a few of them over here. Perhaps we can get another one. And then EuroCAD, similar situation as well. This one did close bullish on the week. But I think the main takeaway as well is that we're still struggling with wicks here as well. So as you can see, we do have some wicks to the downside, but also struggling to the upside too. So I'm kind of looking at EuroCAD, because again, you can see in the 4-hour chart a lot of wicks there too. I do think a lower high is getting ready to form for a swing back down. So one high over there, second high there, third high there, then probably, that's not a third high, that's a second high, that's your low. And then potentially you can see a swing, because it's the same trade essentially between EuroCAD and pound CAD. They do move most of the time the same way, but I can see how much price is struggling at resistance there. It does look like, to me, price is about to turn around. And then hopefully catch a nice sell. So CAD pairs is just not an opportunity of high quality, which is why I'm not really looking to trade them. I do favor downside for EuroCAD and pound CAD, but I'd rather focus on Euro USD, I'd rather focus on pound USD, I'd rather focus on Euro yen, I'd rather focus on Swiss yen. So those are higher quality opportunities to me, which is why I'll focus on those pairs, because I do look at 32 pairs altogether. If I try to take every opportunity, I'll be taking 6-7 trades a week, which is just way too much, and there's no need to take that much trades anyway. So just focus on the best ones. Again, as I always say, 1 or 2 good trades a week will give you more than enough returns that you're looking for. Then it just comes down to your management of those positions, your position sizing, and one or two positions. Pretty much everyone can kind of manage that well, even with other other commitments you may have, work, or if you're a student or whatever. So yeah. Yusuf, okay, we'll go through gold, Euro USD, pound USD in the 15. Okay. Is Black Monday confirmed today? Does anyone know? I have no idea, mate. Wait, what? Oh, okay. I misread your question. What do you mean by Black Monday? Is that like the day after a crash or something? I don't know, mate. I don't know. I'll go through NAS in a moment, but yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. But in terms of the USD pairs in the 15 minutes, I think Euro USD looks like a nice sell. I spoke about this one earlier. I like the lower highs prices forming 1, 2, 3, potentially 4th. I did say if it can push back into resistance, that would be a nice place for a short, because of course you don't really want to be entering any trades right now. And if you want to get a solid support, solid stop loss, you do want it to be above some resistance there. So ideally, another push back to resistance would be nice. Another rejection there, stops above the high. That could be a nice little swing to catch down the 15 as we kind of continue with this bearish structure. And if I go to the weekly chart really quickly, I know you're not too concerned about the weekly, but you can see we're tapping into a very nice level of supply. So you've got that higher time frame level of confidence in your favor. So I think shorts there on the 15 look really good. In terms of pound USD on the 15, this is still looking pretty bearish. I'm still wait to catch some pullbacks for pound USD, but right now I'm not really seeing much of an opportunity. Looks like price kind of double topped here and then continued falling, and looks like we've taken out the lows there on the left, or about to take out the lows there on the left. Yeah, I don't really have an opportunity here for pound USD. It just looks pretty bearish. I think if we can continue price moving in that structure, there might be some more sells maybe tomorrow, something similar, just to continue that momentum. But ideally, you kind of already want to be in the trade. The market's already seeing that swing. So now's not the best time to be looking to sell. And personally, I wouldn't be looking to buy either. I would expect a pullback, but I'm not seeing a solid bullish setup yet. If anything, you're kind of looking to follow the structure. There might be a nice pullback within the week to take advantage of. And gold on the 15, I think shorts look good. I'll wait for a bigger pullback. I'm looking at the zone here, which is a zone I highlighted in the hourly chart. Nice kind of brief consolidation, really strong move to the downside there. And we've seen a nice continuation of that. And gold to me still looks pretty bearish. So I'm looking at a pullback back into that zone, and then some more shorts there for gold. If I scale to the 15, I'll probably just focus my attention on the low here, which is 30.80. If we can spike back into that zone, that would be great. And from there, I'd expect to see a lot more downside. Possibly a swing back to low, but I'll be a bit cautious with gold. It is still bullish as a whole. But at least now we've got some structure and some momentum in our favor. But yeah, gold shorts around 30.80, so it looks like a nice short. On the 15. And then everyone talking about a huge crash today. Yeah, the markets have kind of had a huge crash, to be fair. Whether it's called Black Monday, I'm not really too bothered about the naming of it. I'm just worried about opportunities, really. I guess it's Black Monday. I don't know, to be honest. The market has indices, crypto recently. We've seen some crazy moves. So yes, we have down, but whether it's called Black Monday or not, I'm not too sure if it's official. Anyway, guys, we have come to the end of the stream. Kitan, oh yeah, I've put a pause to that challenge because I've opened up my own prop firm, so I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue the challenge on my own prop firm because yeah, especially with the funding pips as well. Um, I wouldn't be able to trade the funding stage either because of my ties to another prop firm either. So even if even if I continue the challenge, I won't be able to even reap any of the benefits because I'm affiliated with Elevating Traders, and from their contract, they won't allow me to trade with them. So I'll continue the trading challenge with my own prop firm challenge. I'll probably start that series soon, so look out for that. What's up, Jay Huntley? Welcome to the stream. Just catching the end of it. But guys, I will be live again tomorrow. As always, I'm live every weekday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. I know the clocks have changed recently, so it's been a bit awkward, but 10 a.m. UK time is when I do go live, and I do wrap things up at 12 p.m. UK time, so that is the window. If you hit the bell, the YouTube will of course notify you whenever I do go live, so you'll be alerted for that. So that should solve any of those problems. But if you haven't subscribed, please be sure to go do so. Drop a like if you have found the stream useful. And of course, I'll let you know if I do get into any new positions as well. Check out the Telegram channel, check out the Discord channel as well. You can get all those updates there frequently and join the community. But guys, I pretty appreciate it. Have a good one, and I'll catch you all in the next stream.